Hey there, I'm Jenny from the Movement Collective, and today I'm going to run you through a few different entries for the handstand. If you've never done handstands before, maybe you only know one entry, that's the kick up for the handstand. There are heaps of other different entries as well, but we're going to go through the kick up first, all right? So if you've never done handstands before, the best place to start is a wall. The wall is going to be your friend in the beginning. It's going to teach you how hard you need to kick up. It's also going to be there to save you if you kick a little bit too hard. So it's a really great tool to use while you're trying to dial in how hard to kick up for the handstand. When we first teach handstands at the Movement Collective, we teach it in 4 stages. The first stage for the kick up is just getting your shoulders over your wrists. So starting in a lunge position, you can start with your hands on the floor if you feel a little bit scared, or you can start from a standing position, which will give you a little bit more momentum for your handstand kick up. I'm going to start from a standing position, my hands come down to the floor, I'm going to push off the ground with this leg, and then the second leg is going to reach up towards the floor, and all I'm looking for is my shoulders stacking over my wrists. Okay, so not coming all the way up to the handstand, shoulders over the wrists. The second stage we're looking for is the shoulders and then the hips coming up. So from here, we're gonna kick up into our handstand, we'll get our shoulders and then the hips. And you start to notice when the hips come up, you get this little bit of a float before you come back down. The third stage for the handstand kick up is getting the shoulders open and elevated. So when we're working on our handstand, really want to elevate the scapula so it feels like pushing the ground away. We're really going to try to push through the shoulders, and what that actually does when we elevate the scapula, it creates space in the shoulder capsule to be able to open our shoulders, and that's ideally what we're looking for when we're doing a handstand. Open, elevated shoulders. So we're going to try to open and elevate the shoulders, kicking up to your handstand, touching the wall if you need it, push through the shoulders, open and elevate. And that is step number 3. Step number 4 is bringing the legs together. Now, this part is probably the hardest part because a lot of the time people will bring the legs together too quickly, and that will cause them to fall out of the handstand, or they bring the legs together too far this way or too far that way, and that will also cause them to fall out of the handstand. So today we're going to use the wall, and we're going to try to squeeze the legs together off the wall, holding onto the handstand. You might not be able to do this when you first start, but I'm going to show you anyway. So in your lunge position, picking up to the handstand, finding that wall in your split leg position, making sure your shoulders are elevated and open, and then seeing if you can squeeze your legs together in that handstand position. All right, so that is the kick up. When you start to feel comfortable with that on the wall, you can also move that out onto the floor. The second entry I'm going to show you today is the straddle entry. And the straddle entry, I'm going to start down on the floor. I'll show you on the floor first. And if you don't feel comfortable or confident working on the floor, we can also move you over to the wall. So I'll show you both. And from the floor, what we're going to do is start in a squat position. Hands are going to place onto the floor in front. And as we lean forward and put our hands down, we're going to jump our feet up out into a straddle position, trying to get the hips up over the shoulders. So wrists, shoulders and hips. So here's what it looks like. Coming up into a straddle. I didn't quite make it that time. The first time you do it, you might do shorter ones until you feel a little bit more confident to be able to come all the way up into your straddle position. You bring the legs back together and then you come back down onto the floor. There are a lot of roadblocks with this for people who don't feel really comfortable with it, don't feel confident, scared to go over the top. So something really important for all of these entries on the floor is that you actually just practice going too far over and saving yourself. And the way that we do that, something is really important for all the handstand entries, is that if you do happen to go a little bit too far, you save yourself by stepping one of your hands forward rather than just falling over onto your back. So I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. So I'm going to try to go too hard, which is really actually hard to do in the straddle. So too hard, step a hand out, and then come down onto your feet. I'll show you that again. Too hard, step a hand, and then you just cartwheel out to the side. So doing that is going to make it really safe for you, and the safer that you feel doing that fall out from the handstand, the more likely you are to then practice more handstands. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it here on the floor, we can use the wall. So we're going to jump up with our back to the wall. The idea is that your bum is going to come over onto the wall and touch onto the wall, making you feel safe, starting to get to know how hard you need to jump for your straddle handstand. So I'll give you a demo. In your squat position, hands placed down onto the floor in front, jump your feet up into your straddle, bum goes to the wall, and then you can come back down again. As you start to feel more confident with that as well, you can come a little bit further away from the wall so that as you're jumping up, your bum isn't touching the wall and you're actually just jumping up into a freestanding handstand. So from here, a little bit further away, jumping up, and my bum actually isn't touching the wall. Not jumping very hard, but there we go. And then you can practice holding that position. The other cool thing that you can do with the straddle handstand on the wall is you can get up to the straddle position and then have a little play with squeezing your fingers to help to bring your bum a little bit away from the wall. So you go from using the wall for support, but then the more you squeeze your fingers, you're actually holding a freestanding. So if you have a look from the side, it'll be a little easier to see. So jumping up, bum comes over onto the wall, and then I can squeeze my fingers to help take the weight through my fingers, and now I'm not actually on the wall. So that might take a little bit of practice, but that's something really fun you can do in the beginning while using the wall. The third entry I'm going to show you is the tuck to handstand. Now the tuck is very, very similar to the straddle. Straddle's out here, tuck is in here, but really with the position of the shoulders and the entry, it's exactly the same. So I'm going to show you on the floor, you're in your squat position. As the hands placed down onto the floor, instead of shooting the legs up and out to the side, we're going to pull the knees in into a tuck position. So here, coming up into your tuck. And that's the tuck, and exactly the same as the straddle. You can also practice this one with your back to the wall, taking your bum over onto the wall, using that wall to try to figure out how hard you need to jump for the tuck handstand. And when you start to feel comfortable on the wall, you can move it out into the floor as well. The fourth handstand entry I'm going to show you is a pike. For me, this is one of the hardest entries, and I do fail a lot for this one, so hopefully I've got one in me to show you. For the pike handstand, again, really similar to the tuck and the straddle. Legs, instead of going out to the side or in, this time they're going to stay straight on the entry and pull all the way up into a handstand. So the reason this one is so much harder than the other two is the further away our legs are from our body, the heavier the legs are going to feel. And the legs are a really long way away from the body. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in your squat position. We're going to reach forward, pulling the legs up into the handstand. Oh, that was great. That was way better than I thought it was going to be. Of course, the same as all of the other entries we've seen so far, you can also practice this one over on the wall so that you feel safe as you are coming up. The fifth and the final entry I'm going to show you today is something really fun to play with, which is the cartwheel entry for the handstand. So cartwheeling down, trying to make the cartwheel slow and smooth, and trying to stop in the middle of your cartwheel in a straddle position. You can bring your legs up to a straight as well. So from here, something that I like to think about when I'm doing the cartwheel, I don't kind of think about doing a cartwheel. I think about just doing a handstand from a cartwheel position. So this one might help you if you struggle with this one. So we're doing our cartwheel, we're coming up in the straddle, and then coming out on the other side. See if we've got another one for you. And coming out. If you find cartwheels really hard, something cool for you to practice on the wall is the cartwheel entry onto the wall. And this is a really great thing to learn, because the easier you can get up onto the wall for practicing your handstands, the more energy you'll have once you actually get up to do your handstands. So the cartwheel entry looks like this, facing to the wall. We're going to go hand, hand, foot, foot onto the wall. Now, if you've never done a cartwheel before, that might feel really difficult. So what you want to do to work towards this one is have your hands come a little further away from the wall. It's going to make you feel more comfortable at trying to get your legs up on the wall because you're not going as inverted. So I'll show you what that looks like. Hand, hand, foot, foot. And then you can come out. And then over time, you can get closer and closer until eventually you're super close and you can actually just step your hands in a little bit so that you are in the right position to work on your chest to wall handstands. And that's all for today. I hope you loved it, and I'll see you again next time. Oh, and one more thing, if you want to learn handstands with me, check out all of our programs on the TMC Move Pro app. We've got heaps of awesome programs for you to learn with us. We'd love to see you there.